the Sonji Land show where everybody's upside down. My guest today is super interesting. I wanted to talk to him because we have a very similar background. He came from a different sport, which is Taekwondo. And he has a sports science and nutritional sciences background, but then took a complete detour to marketing and then to circus. And now you're a circus performer?
Sort of, yeah.
So I'm sitting here with Andrés Cerdeira, and how about you give us your whole overview and how you got into handstands and how you became a circus artist?
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna try to make it short. So
it's a long story.
I mean, I guess it all started when I studied the sports science degree. So as you said, I studied this in Spain. Was like this university that offered 2 degrees combined. So instead of doing 4 years and 4 years, you would do 6 years. So I was having more classes than average. And during the sports science degree, I stopped practicing Taekwondo, which was the sport I used to practice back then. And then I was trying to find something else to do. So I started doing just general fitness, and then we had a course in gymnastics. And inside gymnastics, we tried these floor skills, and one of them was handstands. And then searching online, I think the first thing I found that really inspired me to wow, this is crazy, I want to do this, was a video with Pavel Stankovic, probably this, a lot of people have seen this solo with the huge canes and all these weird shapes and, his knees and everything. And I got super inspired because I had never seen anything like that. So yeah, I just decided I want to do handstands and see where it goes. So that's when I started doing my own practice, which was without any guidance. I think back then there was not that many resources online, like Yuri Marmstein had a couple of videos with not much explanation, just showing some drills.
When was that?
Okay, this was, let me count back. This was at least 8 years ago. Yeah, 8 years ago.
Wow, so there must have been just a few videos on YouTube.
Yeah, there was, of course. There was no Instagram then, right? It's so hard to think now.
Right.
No,
yeah.
The only thing, online you could find some forums with some vague things, more from gymnastics point of view. And in YouTube you have a couple of very bad tutorials, and then these sort of videos. I think that's when Yuval also started posting things back when he was in Le Rêve, doing his challenges and things like this. But it was not much instructional, right? So, I mean, I started just practicing, just wanted to be on my hands, so I did everything wrong for 2 years, just trying to go up and hold, not practicing much on the wall, not doing drills super bad everything. I picked up many bad habits also from that time, and then it took me a couple of years then I did some internships in the Circus school of Madrid. There's a prep school in Madrid that is called Carampa. And as part of my studies, I needed to do internships in my specialization that by then I was doing gymnastics or acrobatics because I really like that. And then I had first tried in a gymnastics club, but I didn't like their approach that much. It was super competitive, and in that particular place, I didn't like how they treat the kids and things like this. So there must be something else with a better environment. And then I found this circus school searching online because they offer acrobatics for adults. So that's how I got involved with circus first time. So through this school I got to know the proper style of handstands with more technique and this contemporary way of doing handstands in circus. And it's then when I started to get a bit more educated into it. So I got to hang out a bit with the handstand teacher then, and I attended a couple of workshops that they were hosting. Because these internships I was doing was as a coach assistant, not as a student. So I was there seeing and taking notes about how they would do things, but I was not able to participate, which was very frustrating, honestly.
How far were you with your handstands at that point?
Well, here I could hold a little bit, 20 to 30 seconds, a bunch of shapes. But then even though I had this background in Taekwondo, I was not very flexible. So I had like a lot of dynamic flexibility throwing my legs and a very open spagat. But like middle splits, for example, it was not there, and the pancake was like 45 degrees, which is super interesting.
Wow, that's
because,
surprising.
Yeah, we used to stretch a lot, but like stretch a lot the specific things we needed, which was throwing the legs and doing these rotations on the hip. So when doing things like like straddle or diamond, this type of shapes, they were not there, and also my shoulders were like super close, so I was very limited at the beginning. I remember I needed to do like also the wrists. I couldn't even have like full 90 degrees, so I needed to wear wrist straps and have my hands very turned out just to be able to stand. So I remember the first 2 years I was very limited by that, so I was doing a lot of like conditioning for the shoulders, the wrists, and trying to stretch in the best way I could. I think this is also why I got very interested in flexibility training already in my sports science degree, because then I did my thesis actually about flexibility, which was
super
something
interesting.
Yeah, and it was something that we didn't receive that much education, and there was not that much like proper science about it. So there were a lot of methodologies, but not that much consensus in how to apply it, especially to develop range of motion.
Yeah, it's super interesting you say that, because I have exactly the same experience. Like when I was figure skating, the average figure skater is pretty flexible, or at least you would expect it. But I was always stiff, and the way we approached it was to basically just hold the positions for a minute at the end of training. And we never really approached it with a methodology or with strengthening the end range of motion and all that stuff. And I got introduced to that in my mid-20s, so pretty late, but then I got pretty flexible pretty quickly. How was that for you? Can you talk a little bit about how your perspective on flexibility has changed and how your flexibility has changed after learning what you've learned?
Yeah, so I think my journey with that was has been a bit not straightforward, not a linear, because so back then I was already, I think when I started training like this, I was already 22, so for sure I was an adult in the way of like starting training flexibility as an adult. And I think I started applying a little bit things that make sense from what we were learning. This sort of like the PNF was a thing that was, like holding a stretch, pushing against, and then getting deeper into it, which already helped. But then I think out of experimenting a little bit, I got into stretching using weights as a way of like getting deeper into the stretch and then pushing from the muscle that is being stretched, which is something that later on a lot of people has been using. Like I know for sure Emmett Lewis with his approach uses this a lot, and it's something that works quite well. I found for myself and students I've been coaching. And I can't remember if I found one of these early videos from Emmett at some point, these sketchy YouTube videos with a blackboard that are
Emmett's blackboard.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe I got some ideas from them, because I can't remember, but for sure the thing that helped me the most, especially for shoulder flexibility, was doing these sort of exercises where I was laying down, having some sort of block or foam roller on the back, and then from there with a weight, just letting go, pushing against, and these sort of things. So I start, in the bachelor we got a lot of education in how to program strength training, so I sort of treat it as a strength training sort of thing. So I did my sets, my reps, my seconds, and then I applied from a very progressive point of view. So I started with, I can't remember, but it was maybe 3 kilos dumbbell for the shoulders, and then I progressed all the way to 7 kilos in time, trying to go for the range, and then just doing that parallelly to trying to be on my hands and more or less holding and try to open my shoulders. I think it already helped a lot for the flexibility part, but then also I was not really introduced or explained how to push for a more straight line in handstands until maybe I was already 2 or 3 years into my practice. So I think during those years that I could feel that was a limiting factor, but I didn't know exactly what was I trying to reach, right? So I was developing a bit this flexibility, but with not specific goals. So I think while I was doing handstands, I was not engaging things as much as I could have to help the process, which made it a bit slower in showing results.
Are you talking about creating that hollow chest, straight line type of handstand?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, for me, that is not super. Now we're going a little bit into philosophy of handstands, I guess. Yeah. Like, I mean, the straight line is not something you need, but like, there's a point from which having the chest out is gonna be counterproductive for a lot of shapes and things. So I think I was too much there, where to the point where like doing tacks or just keeping a straight line, I was tending to have a lot of weight on the back, and so I was making it harder than it should have been, but I didn't know any other alternative. Even though I had seen these videos of like, yeah, Yuval perfect line, and I was like, whoa, but I couldn't understand, I couldn't connect the dots, right? Yeah, so...
Can I ask you right there,
Of course.
This is like, we went from flexibility to to the line, but what was the key thing for you to understand to create a nice line?
Yeah, so I think this came, maybe 1 year after I started like training a bit more, trying to apply what I've learned more from Circus, this sort of like ripsing and all these things. And it was just after experimenting. I remember clearly this was a Christmas break that I was visiting a friend, and I went to a gym and I wanted to film my line just to see. Yeah, I wanted to do a video where I was trying to be as straight as possible, and I realized like while filming that I couldn't connect what I was doing with what was shown on the film. So I ended up being on the gym a full hour, just against the wall, back to the wall, trying to film at the same time as I was trying, okay, maybe I try to do this. Is this moving this in or is moving that in? Is the shoulder here helping or is like... And I think that was the moment that first connected this idea of how to bring the ribs in while keeping the shoulders in the same place. And I don't think I understood it with this wording that I'm saying now. This is sort of how I explain it now, where like keep the shoulders, but bring the ring, bring the chest in without letting the shoulders go forward, right? So we keep the shoulders in place and bring the body on top. But I think it was the first layer of understanding. I think from then on I could understand a bit that push, and like maybe half a year later I was able to have a very fairly straight line. I think it was really the limit of my flexibility. I could barely, like, if I'm standing with chest in, touch the wall and stuff. It's sort of like active flexibility tests. But I was able to get there with the weight of my body on the handstand. Not comfortable, but I could do it.
And you've evolved quite a bit.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, if I think about it, I've been doing handstands for almost 9 years, something like that. Yeah, I've been doing 8 years, but it's been very inconsistent. But yeah, I think at this point I have a way better understanding of the skill and how to engage the body and also coach people, because I've been teaching already for more than 4 years, sort of various levels. I can understand and teach and coach way more than I can do myself, which is a bit frustrating a lot of the times, where like doing exercises, and I always coach people to be patient, trust the process. You know, if it's a bad day, you just take the previous level of the exercise you're doing, so you can do it on the current day. And then me myself, I'm like,
This is turning out to be so interesting. Can we go deeper into this, because I'm in the same boat as you. As in, I'll tell you how it is for me. I am very inspired by my own experience of my figure skating coach when I was a competitive figure skater. She wasn't at the highest level. Like, she got to a good enough level, but she was the best coach. Like, she brought out national champion after national champion, and it was just obvious. She knew how to coach people. And so for me, the idea that I myself need to get to a high level if I want to make other people better and get them to a higher level was never really a thing. But, you know, for some reason, people think that if you are at a high level, you're going to be able to teach them. But my experience has been quite the opposite. Actually, the people who are better and have, I mean, obviously you can't generalize, but my experiences have been... Well, it's just that the people that, you know, have the high skill levels often have started as kids. And they don't even, like, our bodies are so different as grown-ups. And I guess what I want to say is that you don't need to be at a high level if you want to be a good coach.
100%.
And I want to know your thoughts on that and how you've been dealing with this, because I also find it's often it's pressurizing. Like, I have to be better myself because otherwise people won't want to train with me, but in reality you're producing results, right?
This is a very, very good topic, I think, and for me it's a very recent change that has happened within me in terms of this, because in the last 3 months now I'm living in Rotterdam, where I was living in Copenhagen. I just moved here, and I started collaborating with the Circus Bachelor in Tilburg. It's the school called AKAPA. And I've been collaborating there as a guest teacher, teaching handstands to all their students. That means from first year to fourth year. So it's people that are very talented. And for some reason, because I've always agreed with what you're saying, this idea that you don't need to be good at what you're teaching to be a good teacher, right? You can have the concepts, you can understand the process, and be able to see in the student or the trainee what they need to improve, even though you're not able to do it. And there's plenty of cases of good coaches, circus teachers, and in every discipline people that are not good at that, but they're the best coaches there. And for me, it had never been an issue in any field. I've coached people in fitness, I've coached people in endurance, running, and well, I was just, I practiced it, but I was never good at it or competitive, right? But then, for some reason, with handstands, there's this, and I don't know if it's something out of what we're seeing all the time, that we see these big names and big artists that are also coaching and giving workshops, that it has created this sort of like, invisible bar that if I'm not able to do a 10-second one arm myself, I cannot teach one arm, right? And even though I believe there's a point where if you're able to do it, you might be able to translate your own feelings to what the student might be feeling, so you can relate to the feeling of some exercises and see some things that maybe if you are not able to do it, you might not see. But then at the same time, if you're able to do it, you might get yourself into this cage of, this is my approach and this is how I learned it, therefore this is the way it works for everybody, right? Which is something that I feel like a lot of like coaches and artists fall into. So yeah, this is a little bit my approach. This last couple of months, I've needed to grow in that way, where like I can see that I can give them value, and at the beginning I was quite insecure when teaching to the students, but then soon enough I could see that there were plenty of moments where I make them see things that in all the years of their education they hadn't seen, and they have improved the way they're like applying their hours of training, and there are already some results, even though it's been only a couple of months. In things I can see changes, which is very exciting also. But yeah, for me it's been a challenge.
Yeah, I totally understand that. It's been a challenge for me too. So how is your own training right now?
Right now it's finally, after a year and a half of being very inconsistent, it's finally taking shape into some sort of like program, and I'm being able to have some continuity, because while I was studying the circus school in Copenhagen is when COVID hit, and then it was a bit for me, it was a big change back then from coming. I used to train on my own, always programming my own training. I used to go to a normal gym and do handstands there, and I did 4 to 5 days per week, 2 hours trainings regularly. And then I suddenly started in this school where I didn't have space for that, and I needed to give that responsibility to my teachers, and I needed to adapt to a lot of other training. So I went through a period of a year of letting go a little bit and adapting to that. And then suddenly COVID hit and we were again locked down, and now I need to train again on my own and take back that responsibility. And I struggle a lot with that because also, of course, I needed to earn money and then there were no workshops, no classes I could teach. So the only job I could manage to find was delivering food.
Oh wow.
Yeah, in Copenhagen there's a lot of this culture of bike. So I started doing this with, it used to be as a side job to earn a bit more money on top of the rest of the things, but suddenly the rest of the things disappeared. So it was my only source of income. So that forced me for a year to work a lot like that, which didn't let that much energy to train. So it's been a quite inconsistent period of training where I feel I maintained more or less the level I had in many ways. So I was able to put some trainings here and there, but not enough to I understand better some things and I can get more feelings of what I'm doing and this feeling of, oh, the weight is a bit more there and understanding certain things, but I haven't had enough consistency. And then here with coming to Rotterdam and the moving and all these new challenges, it has also taken some time. But now my program I have I decided to make something simple just to start, and then from there I could modify it. So I had maybe an hour and a half session that is focusing handstands, where I combine a little warm up with some very easy conditioning, and then I do some sort of kick ups for awakening the body, feeling how I am, and then I start doing 2 arms, just some legs changes, shape changes, and then I combine that with head-in, which is something that for me had been always hard, and finally now it's clicking and it's working good. And then after that I start work towards one arm. So I'm doing side bends for conditioning a bit, first on the 2 hands, then I go a bit more towards one hand, and then after that I start doing baby one arm holds. So depending how I feel on the day, I might stay on the fingers. I'm using a lot of blocks now. I don't have canes here, which was also a big change from the Circus school where we use canes a lot.
I was going to ask you about that because I saw you train on the canes a lot in Afuk.
Yeah, this is super common in the circus context, where of course you want to perform, and it's the best tool to perform because it gives you this height and it makes things easier. So we use them a lot, and then also once things start happening in the canes and not in the floor, then you feel a bit drawn to the canes often. And then we also work with projects where we needed to perform, so maybe we need to prepare certain sequences, and then you feel drawn to use the canes more. And this is very common in the circus environment, where I feel now as a coach I need to help the students not stop doing one and do only the other, because there's also some that want to differentiate and then do only blocks or floor to not do canes. So it's they can offer good things, all of them. Yeah. But this is sort of
I could never do canes.
Sorry?
I could never do canes.
Yeah? How so?
Yeah, I've always struggled with the height and fear.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the floor. Big surface, keeps me safe.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is I feel canes offer some possibilities, but mostly it's make things a bit easier. So if you're able to do it on floor, maybe you need to adapt a little bit, but in general, it's quite easy to put it in case once you break that mental barrier of fear. Yeah, but that's how it looks now. So I try to train at least 4 times per week, and now I'm able to make it. And then at the same time, I have a sort of conditioning strength circuit that I do, which is sort of Stalder planche each type of strength. And this I do very, very much strength training approach. So I have I pair exercises, do 3 or 4 sets, 6, 8 reps, and then I adjust the the variation of the exercise to the intensity I can do in the day. Yeah, so this is what I do for handstands at the moment.
You do acrobatics too, or
Yeah, right now not, because I haven't found a place. Like I want to figure out a way where I can, because I'm also having all these challenges with work. Every time I go to the university, the way we've been working now is like I do full time for 2 weeks, and then I don't go for some weeks. So this was like that for the last 3 months, which means that because this university is in a city that is an hour and a half away, so I go and come back every day as well. So then it's very long days, so it doesn't leave me that much space for anything else. So at the moment, I've been focusing on how to do the minimum to make it consistent and work, focus at least for handstands and general strength. I have a little program for general strength training that I'm trying to do as well. And then once this stabilizes a bit, and seeing how the COVID restrictions evolve, because here at the moment we just came into full lockdown, so there's no opportunity for training in spaces. Yeah, this happened like 2 days ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we just finished our lockdown. We were in lockdown for 2 weeks in Austria.
Okay, the other way around then. Yeah, here they just came now. I think it was literally like Sunday evening or something. From Sunday evening is yeah, all the training spaces only outdoors and a certain amount of hours. So yeah, I want to go back to acrobatics somehow, because it's something that I've never felt that I'm good at, and in a FUC finally I felt like something was happening, and it's when like we got the first COVID, and then since then I haven't really practiced that much. Yeah, so for now my focus is handstands. Get back to the roots. I always felt it's been my the training that changed a little bit my approach to training, and then actually has changed my whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, speaking of which, we didn't finish your story.
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah. Wow.
So, can we talk about the part where you decided to take on or audition for the circus program?
Yeah.
For the circus school.
Yeah, of course. So since I was in contact with this circus school in Madrid, then I always wanted to be around circus. It's a universe that really mesmerized me, and I found a lot of value in many ways there. So what happened is that the second to last year of my program, which was at that moment only nutrition, I did an exchange program, and the only place I could go to study English with my university was Copenhagen in Denmark. And up until then, I've never been in Scandinavia. I've heard about these countries, but like I had no idea about them. So then when I got this opportunity, I filled the forms and everything without even researching about the country yet. So I did this exchange year there. And as soon as I arrived, the first thing I Googled was like Circus Copenhagen. And then I found about a FUC. So it's this very unique sort of space that offers a lot of shows and things. And it's not only a circus school, it's a school that offers education for... It's a bit hard to explain, but like summarized, it's sort of like alternative educations for students that are dropouts from high school. So usually it's like people that come from difficult situations in their lives, and then in this school they find a place where they can feel at home a little bit. There's this sense of unity and family there, and it's something that the school is try to be very supportive about. So it's a very it's a very good place. Also a bit weird sometimes, but it's a very nice place. So
Sounds like circus. I love it.
Yeah. So I started to like mingle a little bit there with the people that were studying there, and this was during this exchange year, right? So then I came back to Spain. I finished my education, but I knew already I wanted to go back to Denmark, because for me the experience of that exchange hadn't been enough. So I started searching for options to how can I get back there. And then I found this program in communication, marketing, and graphic design, sort of like visual communication, that I was also very interested about in this topic. And this is a whole other story, but at that time I was going through a bit of a crisis of what to do with my life. So I took this chance and I went there. And 2 years passed of this process where I was still training from a non-performative point of view. And I was still going often to a FUC. Actually, I was doing there some trainings on the evenings even. And when I finished this 2-year program, I had the opportunity of extending to a 3rd year that was sort of optional that I could apply to. But I sort of knew that it's very common that when you do that year and that education, you get an opportunity to do internships in a place, and then you start like getting contacts. So it's common to get a job and sort of get settled. So I saw that route, and that was a possibility. I would probably have been very happy following that. And then there was this prep school, circus school program that you apply only for 1 year. And I was like, this is now or never, sort of. So I decided to postpone applying for this 3rd year, that I could postpone the next year. And I applied to the circus school. And for me, it was a huge, I had like this mental sort of barrier that I put to myself, where like, there's a line and there's the circus people over there, and then there's me on this side. But I belong here, I don't belong there. Even though I have been mingling with them for years and years, they're like something else. Right, which is very, in a way it's a bit stupid how we set these mental barriers to ourselves, but I think it sort of happened, right? But yeah, then I did it, and I applied, and I loved it. Every day of that year was amazing in so many ways.
How did you make that decision? Because if you say you were here and they were there, how did you finally cross over?
Yeah, I can't remember if there was a specific thing or like, but I've always been trying to push myself, and this is more like in general with all the things I do. When there's a challenge that I feel a bit scared or I can see that I could do it, but I don't feel ready for it, then I always force myself a little bit to go there. I like to push my comfort zone. Like, I have this tattoo that is about this sort of idea about the comfort zone. It's like this type of thought that has been so strong in me that I decided to even put it in my skin, right? So this was one of these situations where I felt it was outside my comfort zone, but logically there was no reason why it should be outside my comfort zone, and it's something that I could, if I would dream about, I could see myself enjoying doing that. So I just, I was like a week of hard thinking and like trying to decide and see myself there and visualizing. And then I remember I called my mom and I was like, Mom, I think I'm gonna join the circus. This has been a hard decision, but I think I'm gonna join the circus school. And she was like, oh, finally, you decide to do it after all these years?
No way!
Yeah, I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, well, I saw this coming like 3 years ago. I was wondering when it was gonna happen. And I'm like, when did you never told me?
I love that reaction though, it's so supportive.
It was so funny.
It's kind of like, I'm just gonna watch him not know what he really wants and just gonna wait. It's kind of sadistic.
I really think she was like expecting it to happen like every time, because I spoke with so much passion about this, and I've been training for so long this skill that is a circus skill, sort of. Yeah, so that was funny. So that is how I started. And then once I was there, this idea of it being only a gap year, then it quickly vanished, and then it became, I don't know how I'm gonna survive later or mix these skills into a professional career, but this is what I want to do. I don't know if I want to be a full-time performer or what's gonna happen, but then so I did it for 2 years, and then in the second year I got together with a classmate, and then she got accepted into Codarts, which is the circus school here in Rotterdam.
In Rotterdam, yeah.
So then we decided to move together here, and that was originally the reason why I came here. Then these other opportunities, when I was like, okay, I'm gonna be here, what can I yeah, what opportunities can be there for me. And then this thing with the university happened, and now I'm in contact with circus companies that maybe I will help them with their managing, communication, and things like this. So now I'm having a clear visual idea of how can I put all these different skills that I've been accumulating through my years, that might be, yeah, sports science, circus, communication, graphic design. How does this go together? But it's starting to take some shape in during the years in a FUC with also another guy that he did a FUC and also studied sports science, and he just finished a master in Denmark. He's Danish. We developed together a theoretical course in sports science, recovery, nutrition, sleep quality for circus students. And this is something that we've been teaching at a FUC, but with the idea of developing it to teach it in other institutions, which is something that now is starting to, we're having some conversations here and there to move it forward in that direction. So now I'm in this point of my life where things are making sense. Like, I know I want to give to the handstand and circus community, and I have skills, whether it's coaching, performing, or with this communication and marketing skill set I can give in many different ways. So now I'm just still not sure how it's gonna take shape, but I think I will for some time try to be in the environment and see, gain experience in it and gain a bit of a network. And then one of my ideas is to provide education a bit in this way. Like, how can you as a company of artists do the least amount of work to get the biggest results in social media, in communication, in PR, and all these things. Yeah, that was a lot.
I love it's so awesome. No, I love that you're also not attached to only the performing aspect, or only the coaching aspect, or only, you have a wide variety of things you can offer.
Yeah, and this has been the good thing, right? That I have a lot of skills that I can offer, but also the hard thing and it's still something I'm struggling a bit, where it's so diversified that I have a hard time focusing in one project or making one thing happen. I'm trying to do a bit everything, maybe a bit too much at the same time, so it's slowing down, but things are happening. So the only thing now it's a bit on the side is the performing aspect, where for now I don't see how I can. I don't have the time space to create and develop in that way, because, to be honest, it's something that I was barely starting to do in a cohesive way at the end of this circus journey. So I was, for example, I never developed a full solo performance. I've always worked with groups and with other artists. And I was starting to develop a concept that then never really happened. It's something I still have there, that once things get more stable and I have space for it, I want to develop it further. But this is sort of thing that it's very easy for me to leave a bit things on the side when I'm focusing too much into one project or one aspect.
Yeah, I can relate to that a lot. It gives you also a more feeling of safety, I feel like, especially with COVID now. It feels good to not have all of your eggs in one basket.
Yeah. And I have now, like a couple of years ago, I don't think I could have answered if you would have asked me, what is your ideal life? Like, your ideal life, including what are you doing professionally and as a hobby and all this. But now it's starting to take a lot of shape with these things of like training, coaching, teaching, both practice and theory, and then helping, spreading my knowledge somehow to both in terms of communication and also in terms of handstands. And I think it's something without realizing I've been doing. I started in Copenhagen, first just training alone in a park, and then I started having some people joining me, and then we created this Facebook group, like handstand meetups in Copenhagen, and it developed to the point where we were sometimes 12, 15 people just training handstands and meeting through this group, and we were doing this every second week, and it was super nice.
It was when we moved to California, and I got big fear of missing out.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, I join you so bad, but we had just moved, and then COVID happened.
Yeah, exactly. And then we I mean, it was starting to get solid. We even had like a deal for with a space so we could use it during winter indoors. But yeah, then when COVID happens, then yeah, everything went stopped happening.
Yeah.
And this is something I would love to be able to start here in Rotterdam once I get to know a bit more people and create a bit of a network, because it's something that is not there. And it was super nice to like share this like from a completely non-business point of view, right? It's just like we're just training together. It's just sharing handstands as a thing, and it doesn't matter your level. You can be a beginner, a professional hand balancer. It's just about coming here and training together
and connecting about the same thing. Yeah. Well, I think you have a fascinating story, and I also think you're such a great example of the fact that you don't just have to be limited to either performing or coaching, but it's like a whole industry. And there's a lot to do, and I feel like it's just starting to evolve into a bigger thing now, where people who are passionate about circus or performing or handstands also can find their places in related things. Like, for example, we started the Handstand Press magazine, which it has nothing to do with, it's just something that is part of the industry and part of the communication there, but it's still related to the passion.
Yeah.
So.
And it's such a great project. It's such a nice project.
Thanks. Yeah. We just published issue 2.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, it's so nice, and I really agree with what you're saying. And this is something also, like I found some of the students, circus students, they get a bit stressed with this stuff because we train so much the technique and the performing aspect of it, but a lot from the technique point of view. Like, you go to a bachelor school to become very good at the discipline you're doing, right? And that is easy to lose this like perspective that you are more than your handstands. That's first thing. Like your handstand level doesn't like show what is your value as a person. And you have other skills.
I love that so much.
Yeah, and there's other skills as well, right? So you will find a way to combine things in the way that works for you, and just because some artists do it this way doesn't need to mean that you need to do it that way. And I think it's a very sort of liberating approach when you think from this point of view.
When you realize also that you can create your own ways or your own containers that haven't existed before, I think is really fascinating.
Yeah, and I really think now more than ever we have so many resources and tools. Like if you want to develop certain skills, you can do it completely on your own through tutorials and all sort of courses out there. And then it's also whatever you want to do, you have so much access to people now, and like you can sell things online and provide services and value and contact with others through social media. I mean, this is happening just because Instagram, right? So
yep.
It is
Although, like I said before, I think I didn't say it during the interview, but the Instagram algorithm has not been showing me your stuff. So you proactively have to.
Yeah. I mean,
anyway.
I went through a little change in my Instagram approach recently after moving here, where before, because this coaching, teaching aspect came slowly while I was in the circus school. So my Instagram started as a sort of journaling. I just wanted to journal my own progress. And if you go there, I think my first post is when Instagram started, maybe, I don't know, 6 years ago. There you can see all my flexibility process, my first handstands, and reflections about things I was realizing. So it was more for me to, in 5 years, whatever I'm doing, I can go back and say, oh, this is what I was then. I can have sort of a reference. But then it started evolving into this, where I started teaching handstands, doing some workshops, coaching some people, and I like to also share a little of this knowledge I'm I'm gaining in this area, I've always wanted to share with others, like, because I went through the struggle of I have an issue where I cannot do what I want to do, and I don't know how to overcome that problem, right? So I started to put out content like this, but then it started to be a bit messy, where like what is this profile about, right? So now recently I changed a little bit more into more like a coaching point of view. So yeah, this is just to say during the last year, I don't think I've been that consistent with publishing and with the type of content. So probably that didn't help the algorithm at all.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this sort of thing when, like, after I studied this communication thing, we of course talk about Instagram, and when I advise people, I always give good advice, but then looking at what I was doing, I'm like, this is not how, yeah.
Yeah, that has happened to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we evolve, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
yeah, it's all about learning.
I'm so glad that we got to meet, and I mean, finally.
Yeah.
I was always picturing that we would meet in person at one of the meetups in Copenhagen, but
maybe
this
the
is
next
okay
one is in
too.
Rotterdam. We will see.
That would be amazing. Actually, my aunt lives in Amsterdam.
Okay.
So there's a chance we might go there.
Yeah. And if you'd also, please let me know. Like, Amsterdam is super close, at least for a coffee.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing this interview with me.
No problem. Thank you for suggesting it. This was very fun.
Yeah.
I feel it was a bit like going here and there all the time, but...
I know. That's my brain. You know, that's how I do things.
Yeah, but it's my brain a little bit as well, so that doesn't help.
I've tried to do it better, but in the end, it's just like, okay, that's how it works.
Yeah.
It's okay. Well, thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna put Andrés' information down below. Check out his Instagram, and he also has a website with a blog. He puts in really insightful and reflective information in there, which I find really, really valuable. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this interview, and it's never too late to do what you love. I'll see you next Monday.
Bye.